Welcome back to In Business. Anita Duramsky first got a taste of the business world when she graduated from university. She started working in corporate and later caught the entrepreneurial bug with her friend and her husband, who have had prior experiences in various businesses. Anita later partnered up with her two friends and went on to create an online dating site targeting South Asians. We feature Anita Duramsky of TwoMangoes.com as we ask the question, how'd you get started? Entrepreneurs start off in many different ways. Some pursue an idea, and some pursue something that they've always wanted to do. Anita Duramsky always dreamed of owning a business. When her friend introduced her and her husband to the idea of creating an online dating site, it definitely piqued their interest.
We actually all, ironically enough, we all went to Waterloo, University of Waterloo for school at different times. So we actually we're not ever in school at the same time. And for the most part, myself and my husband actually, after we graduated university, did have a little bit of a stint in the corporate world. So, you know, working regular jobs and that sort of thing. And then we sort of, I guess, came to the entrepreneurship party a little bit later. And then my other partner has actually sort of been involved in a various number of different startups and things like that, sort of, I would say, pretty much since he graduated from university.
After coming to the decision that opening their own dating site was what they wanted to do, Anita tells us how the wheels started turning and how starting the website fell into place.
It's an interesting story. We knew mangoes is something that's very near and dear to any South Asian's heart. For that matter, everyone loves mangoes. You know, they're known as the king of the fruits, I would say. So we wanted to incorporate the word mango in there somehow. And interestingly enough, I was in San Francisco on a personal trip, and one of my other partners was here in Toronto. We were sort of back and forth on Skype and just throwing out, you know, a bunch of names with anything to do with mango, and he said something to the effect of, you know, we're bringing together people, we're bringing together, you know, two people. It's like two mangoes. And then, you know, the light bulb sort of went off and said, that's it. That's exactly what it is. It's two people connecting, and that's sort of where Two Mangoes was born.
We asked Anita why they chose to create a dating site.
The simple answer, because there's a need. There are. So the online dating space is something that's very competitive, very saturated. There are a ton of dating sites. I know even when we were doing our research, I mean, literally you'd keep hitting the next button, the next button, the next button on Google, because there was just so many of them. But, you know, as you started to take the universe and cull it down a little bit, so we said, okay, there's dating sites, and then there's dating sites that target South Asians. And then there's dating sites that target South Asians that are not in India or in Pakistan, so sort of that the group the generation that we were from, which is called NRIs, non-resident Indians. So people who are, you know, born and raised outside of India, looking for other people who are born and raised outside of India. And the minute we sort of, you know, culled it down all the way, we realized that there really wasn't much that was out there. And, you know, speaking to friends, speaking to family members, and we did a lot of research before we launched, because to your point exactly, we didn't want to be going out and starting yet another dating site if there were already tons of those like that out there. And the more we spoke to people, it was the same message over and over again. There's nothing out there, there's nothing out there, there's nothing out there. And, you know, good or bad, you know, we're part of the North American society where everyone's getting married later in life, and sort of, you know, you go to high school, you go to university or college, you focus on your career, and dating and marriage and all that stuff is sort of getting, you know, pushed to the back burner, if you will. But, you know, our South Asian culture is very big on you know, getting married and starting a family and doing all that stuff. So we said, you know what, where do people meet people? Where do young professionals, you know, doctors, lawyers, engineers, what have you, you know, once they're sort of done everything that they want to do in their life, where do they meet people? And you know, just in speaking to people, finding that, you know, when people do have whatever limited free time they have, they don't want to go on a blind date, and they don't want to just go to the bar and you know, pick up somebody that they don't know, they've never met, and sort of, you know, a lot of people would say it's a waste of time. And you know, when you've got such little free time to begin with, the last thing you want to do is spend it on these type of things. I'd rather go out with a bunch of friends, people that I know I enjoy spending time with. But you know, when I'm traveling on business, I would love to be able to, you know, I've got an hour here, I've got an hour there to log on to something like this.
Anita talks about the challenges of dealing with partners, what motivated her to continue to work so hard, and what advice she does have to offer other entrepreneurs. All this and more when we continue with How'd You Get Started right after the break.
Do you have an opinion on issues affecting you and your community? Call in, send us an email at benmercerlive@rogerstv.com. Get your voice heard on Ben Mercer Live Monday at 7 p.m. and Tuesday at 9 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Available now.
1, 2, 3! Party. Yeah. Where the devil are you anyway?
What's going on in there?
Nothing.
Hang on, Harry.
That's disgusting.
Prepare for the final battle. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Rented now on Rogers On Demand Channel 100 or at rogersondemand.com.
In my game, we play with a bigger ball.
It's called a softball, but it's not soft at all. In my game,
the pitcher throws underhand.
In my game, we play 7 innings. 7 innings of fast, fantastic fun.
Softball.
My game.
Over 250,000 Canadians call softball their game. Make it yours.
Welcome back to In Business. Anita Duramshy entered the business world right after she graduated from university. Along with her husband and a friend, the three went on to open up their own online dating site for South Asians. We find out more as we continue with Anita Duramshy and How'd You Get Started. Anita Duramshy of TwoMangoes.com is a very successful entrepreneur who never gave up, even when there were a few bumps in the road.
The biggest mistake, I would say, because we're all so passionate and so excited about the business, and you know, we love it, and we just sort of jumped right into it. I think one of the biggest mistakes we've made to date is just not being proactive and not being planned about things. I think at times we sort of tend to operate in this whole, okay, there's something happening this weekend that we want to sponsor. Okay, well let's go to Costco. Let's get this. Let's get the gum that we want to hand out. And you know, we're sort of running around at the last minute, and then of course you know Monday morning comes along and we all sit back and say, okay, well you know, we should have been more proactive about that, and you know, we didn't need to be running to Costco at Saturday morning and standing in lines and that sort of thing. So I think it's just being a little bit better planned about things, and just you know, organizing ourselves on paper and saying, okay, well, this is what's happening over the next month. What do we need? How can we be better organized, and just so that we're not sort of scrambling at the last second.
We asked this entrepreneur if she ever thought about going offline.
No, that I can tell you we don't ever feel, because we've all sort of done the job life, and you know, working in the corporate world and that sort of thing, and anytime we even have any of those thoughts, you know, we sort of think back to why we entered the world of entrepreneurship in the first place, and said, listen, we don't want to go back there. So that definitely doesn't cross our mind. But yeah, there are days and there are weeks where we look at ourselves and say, you know, why are we sacrificing our entire life? And you know, like there's no concept of weekends and evenings, and you know, there's no concept of personal time. That's something that I'm a very big believer in, is that if you're always business all the time, and you don't give yourself an opportunity to sort of have that downtime, you know, you can't even, you know, forget about from a business standpoint of thinking about new ideas and letting those creative juices flow. You know, it's just you need to take some time for yourself, because otherwise, you know, you will burn out, and you will push yourself to a certain limit where you will start to almost not regret, but you'll sort of you know, kind of have these negative feelings towards what you're doing. because you sort of feel like it's taken over your life and you don't have anything else in your life.
So how does Anita define an entrepreneur?
It's very different for very different people, I think. I've come across a lot of entrepreneurs in the short time that I've been an entrepreneur myself, and yes, there's a lot of similar qualities that a lot of them share, but a lot of things are very different. I mean, in some cases, you know, people will say, you know, you have to be risk-taking, but at the same time, I've come across entrepreneurs who are very risk-averse. But for whatever reason, you know, that seems to work in their business. So I mean, I think I guess it's somebody that just wants to have a business, wants to do something different, wants to, you know, push the limits and not just accept the status quo is probably how I would define it.
While speaking with Anita, we wanted to know what the biggest challenge of working with partners is.
I would say the biggest challenge is probably sometimes not being on the same page. I think, you know, we all sort of sit down and you know, when we have our strategy sessions or meetings, we all know what our common goal is, and we know what we'd like to achieve and where we'd like the site to go. But sometimes we have differing views on how we need to get there, and what we need to do, and things like, you know, what's important, what's not important, where we should be focusing our energy or our resources, and that sort of thing. So I think that tends to be a little bit of a challenge sometimes, because you do have three very, you know, very strong-headed personalities who are very, very passionate on the business, which I think is great, because we're all very, very passionate about taking the site and growing it and becoming global. But I think a lot of times that does get, you know, a little frustrating for all of us, because we're all sort of trying to, you know, fight with each other on different things.
This successful business owner seems to have everything under control. We found out her secret to running a successful business.
Balance, probably. Achieving that balance. I know very few entrepreneurs that are able to successfully achieve that balance, but I think it's always working towards that sort of, you know, trying to find that right balance between, you know, work and family and life is a key thing that I think people always have to make sure that they keep in mind.
Coming up, we have some news on an ultimate networking event. There's lots more to come right here on In Business.
In Business is sponsored by... Thinking about opening a business or undergoing a change in an established business? The Brampton Small Business Enterprise Center is dedicated to helping small business owners and entrepreneurs start, strengthen, succeed. The Mississauga Business Enterprise Center is committed to inspiring small business. Whether you're in the thinking, starting, or growing stage of your business, the Mississauga Business Enterprise Center is your central source for small business information, resources, and guidance.
Since 1948, the business law firm of Pallet Vallow LLP has helped protect and grow Peel area businesses, delivering the results you expect at a fair value. Pallet Vallow Right-Size Thinking, online at palletvallow.com. Your vote, your community, your results. After the polls close on May 2nd, watch Rogers TV at 9 p.m. for the local results with Ben Mercer. Our full election coverage brings you updates from various candidate camps, a full political discourse on the issues, and the latest results as they happen. Clear up your questions and get the message from the source, Rogers TV. Your vote, your community, your results. Watch the local results on Monday, May 2nd at 9 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Networking is essential to any business. So when we hear about the ultimate networking event, we just had to let you know more. Randy Goodman is here joining us in the